Welcome to our Mr. Jack channel. Get ready to feel the thrill with scary stories and mysteries that will get your heart racing. Don't forget to subscribe for more horror stories. At a camping site located in the Colorado forest, a family decides to spend their weekend enjoying the beauty of the outdoors. They pitch their tents, light a campfire, and prepare for a fun-filled evening of stories and laughter. However, the initially warm atmosphere suddenly changes when they begin to hear a strange sound in the distance. A loud whistling sound that seems to come from amongst the dark trees that surround them. At first, they dismissed it as the sounds of night animals or just the wind moving among the branches. But as the night wore on, the whistling became more pronounced and the sound grew closer. They began to feel anxious, but tried to convince themselves that it was just an illusion or a natural disturbance. However, when they decided to find out where the sound was coming from, they found only a silent and desolate forest, with no other signs of life around them. The tension intensified as the whistling grew closer, sounding so clear and close, as if someone was standing right behind them. The family, with gripping fear, turned around quickly, hoping to find someone or something that explained the sound. However, when they turned around, there was no one there, only the eerie darkness of the forest. After that suspenseful night, the family chose to quickly pack their belongings and leave the camping site. Since then, they have never returned to the Colorado forest, and their strange story has become a local legend that haunts anyone who hears tales of mysterious whistling sounds coming from the darkness of the night. In a remote area of the Oregon forest, there is a long-forgotten camping spot, unguarded and untouched. Chris, a young hiker in search of peace and quiet away from the crowds, decided to spend the night there. That night, the wind rustled through the trees, but there was something strange about the place. As the night wore on, Chris got up to fetch water from a nearby stream, and that's when he noticed something that wasn't supposed to be there, a tent that looked brand new, even though the place had been unoccupied for a long time. Around the tent, he found footprints that looked fresh, as if they had just been left behind. An uneasy feeling began to creep over him, and Chris felt that something was wrong. Without thinking, he returned to his tent, trying to calm down. However, when he opened the tent door, he felt like something was pressing down from inside the tent. Fear began to creep up, and cautiously, he checked inside the tents. They were empty, but there was something that made his blood run cold. On the ground of the tent, there was a note written in blood, reading, "We knew you were coming." The note seemed to have been left deliberately, as if it knew he was coming before he even realized it. In a state of anxiety and fear, Chris tried to make sense of what he had just encountered, but the dread was getting the better of him. Not long after, he heard the sound of approaching footsteps, but when he checked his surroundings, there was no one there. The terror he experienced intensified, and Chris, with indescribable fear, quickly left the place. He never told anyone about his experience, not wanting to relive it as it continued to haunt his mind. The place, which he thought was quiet and safe, was now a place he avoided forever, leaving him with questions about who or what was really in the dark Oregon forest. At a remote campsite in New York's Adirondack forest, Some travelers hear a chilling story about a hiker who mysteriously disappeared several years ago. They decide to pitch their tents and gather around the campfire, but the night is noticeably quieter than usual, as if the forest itself is holding its breath. The tranquil atmosphere turns anxious when one woman in the group, Sarah, begins to feel uneasy. She felt like something was watching them from the darkness of the forest, even though there were no other signs of life around them. After a few hours, an increasingly distressed Sarah decided to go to bed early. However, the next morning the group was surprised to find Sarah's tent empty. There were no tracks, no signs of resistance, or anything to suggest that she had attempted to escape. They immediately searched around, panicked and confused, but did not find Sarah. Alarmed, they reported the incident to the authorities, who immediately launched an intensive search around the forest. A few weeks later, Sarah's body was found just a few meters from their camping spot, near a dark river. Her body appeared intact, with no visible wounds or signs of violence. However, what was shocking was the look of fear that was clearly displayed on her face, as if she had experienced something very scary that night. The authorities could find no plausible explanation for what happened to Sarah, and the mystery of her disappearance remained buried in the silence of the Adirondack forest. These three mysterious stories set in the remote forests of the United States reveal just how eerie these places can be, sometimes holding more dark secrets than one can imagine. From strange, disturbing noises to the disappearance of a person without a trace, these forests continue to haunt those who dared enter their depths, leaving unanswered question marks.